Oh, you tell me that your last good dollar is gone, and you say that your pockets are bare. And you tell me that your clothes are tattered and torn, and nobody seems to care. Now don't tell me your troubles, no, I don't have the time to spare. But if you want to get together and fight, good buddy, that's what I wanna hear.
Welcome to NEK VT Rocks. My guests today are Colleen Ortiz and Adorian Willis. Did I get that right?
You did.
Thank you.
You can call me Dory if it makes it easier.
No, I can manage Adorian. And the reason for the show today is Colleen, who's the queen of the cell phone, posted a video on
working
Facebook,
on it.
a live feed, which was about something that was happening on 3rd Street. And this isn't new. So why don't you pick it up from there? And
Absolutely.
Then we'll get going.
Absolutely. Actually, you know, I would take us back even to a year ago when there was a real upsurge in drug trafficking on 3rd Street.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, a group of citizens got together,
Right.
and I was a part of that
Yeah.
group, to present a petition to City Council.
I remember that.
Asking
it was
for
excellent.
asking for some community policing, and having grown out of that is a monthly community
Right.
meeting called the 3rd Street Hood Chat.
Yeah.
And so I had, like, just as a citizen, right, committed to hosting those and making sure they were organized and put on for a whole year. But what I was kind of seeing at the end of a year, and I had just come back from this beautiful vacation where I laid next to a lake and had
It was peaceful.
it was very peaceful, and I had
Yes.
a lot of time for self-reflection. And I came back, and this was the very first day after vacation, and I was like, oh my goodness, it never ends, right? So I feel strongly that I want other people to understand what it's like to live in our neighborhoods. And if I can do that in a positive way, right? Keeping it positive, because it's not about being unkind to other
Right.
people, right? It's about valuing each other enough
Yeah.
so that we will not tolerate this kind of degradation, I think, of our communities and our neighborhoods. And so I started this page called Every Street Diaries. And the goal is for everybody who lives in our neighborhood and whoever it reaches to just experience what that is like, right? Every 2 days to have sirens and police and cars on your street, and the disturbance in your sleep when there's a street fight at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the toll that takes on a community, right? Because I think we all need to feel a little more uncomfortable, right?
Yes.
We need to feel the discomfort of one another, because we have the power to make that difference for each other. So,
As opposed to turning 3rd Street and Bayview into, quote, sacrifice zones.
Right.
I mean, the NEK is a sacrifice zone for Vermont, but we don't have to have a sacrifice zone here.
no, we have all the power, and we
Yeah.
have all the choices.
Right.
And so I think that's pretty amazing.
How does your neighborhood come into this?
Well, on Bayview Street, we experience a lot of the same things. So it's definitely uncomfortable it's hard when you have, like, children, when we're deciding to have children in the area. I decided to remove my children from that area. It was a hard choice for me, but I know that my children are doing a lot better. But it was hard, like, when you're trying to play with your children, and then all of a sudden, you know, somebody's in a fight, and you got to quickly get your kids inside so they don't become a part of that. They don't witness that, trying to keep their innocence intact throughout the entire thing, because, you know, we want our children to grow up healthy. We want them to not go through unnecessary traumas. Not that any are necessary, but I mean, like, if they've already experienced some, you can't undo that trauma.
Right. So to live where you're living, you've made a choice for your kids to live somewhere else.
Yes.
That's brutal.
It's very hard for me. And
It's horrible.
yes, but I mean, I still have contact with my kids, which makes
Right.
it bearable, and I can see them thriving,
Mm-hmm.
and so it lets me know that I've made the right choice for them.
Right.
But I mean, I'm sad because
Of
I don't get to
course.
see my children every day. Like
Right.
some things that some parents take for granted,
Right.
and
you can't.
yes, but I know that they're going to experience a lot less trauma this way. They don't.
Yeah.
I've taken away some barriers that, I couldn't do. I'm disabled. I'm a single parent. I have anxiety and depression and PTSD, so I can't drive. So
Right.
I have all these barriers, and with a better community connection, which I'm working on, but I'm not
Yeah.
there yet. Those barriers wouldn't be so. Well, they wouldn't be as much of a barrier.
Right. Right. And in
But-
Newport, you don't have housing choices.
Right. You just pretty much you get what's available, and when you're low income, you have to rely on a lot of help, and you have to meet certain criteria to get that help, and you have to follow all the little rules, and
Right.
so you don't have much power at that point. Like, you don't have the money to save up to be able to move somewhere else.
Right.
You just kind of have to deal with what you got.
And it's a double bind because if you do save up, if you manage to nickel
Then
and
you
dime,
lose
you
everything.
lose. Yeah. Talk about damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yes, well, like with because I'm on disability, so you cannot have, I think, more than $2,000 in your account.
Right.
Well, that's
You can't
that's
move.
basically what you need for a deposit and
Yeah.
first month or last
Yeah.
month's rent. So you're like kind of stuck where you are and making the best of it. And so
Right.
I decided to struggle on my own and let my kids not struggle.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that they don't have to struggle. And even though it's hard, but I'm thankful that they don't have to struggle. I'm thankful
Right.
at the end of the month, I'm figuring out what I'm going to eat, and they're eating well.
Yeah.
So that's not an easy choice. Not every parent can make that choice.
No.
And not every parent is put in that position either.
No.
But, which is, I'm thankful for as well. But unfortunately, sometimes we are.
So how do we change this? Because it's clearly not going to change from the top down. It never does.
Right. Well, they're happy. They've got their
Clients. Yeah. And it's
well, and they're not suffering either. They're paid well,
Right.
and they're not feeling.
They're not feeling like
The
not everyone is
discomfort.
feeling that discomfort. Exactly, right? And when in order to feel discomfort, we have to feel connected to one another,
Yeah.
right? We have to feel like we're members of the same species, first of all, to the same state, to the same community, to the same street, to the same family. We're all one human family.
right.
And when I feel like we have lost that sense of connectedness, right? We have lost that ability to empathize with those less fortunate in
Yes.
some capacity
Yep.
because we become so numb to it, right?
Yes.
And I speak as a community member who lives in
You live that, right.
in that genre. I guess there's a fancy word, which is maybe genre, but in the fabric of that, right?
Yeah.
And seeing it quite a lot, and it gets it wears one down. But what living in downtown Newport has taught me, and it has been one of my greatest teachers, right? It has taught me that to feel my kinship, right, with everybody else on my street, in this town, in this county, in the Northeast Kingdom, to the state. And I think one of my hopes is that when we tell our stories, right, we create relationship. And I believe that relationship can have a platform, however remote it might seem. It's actually quite immediate in that narrative, in that story. I would like to tell the story of every street in every town in America, certainly, but certainly in Vermont. Every downtown is suffering like our downtown is,
Yes,
right?
it is.
There is no downtown that is
Right.
very economically thriving. Everybody has its challenges, and
Right.
so
And fluffing it up from the outside doesn't change what's happening on the inside.
Right.
How do we build from the inside?
And I think another thing that Third Street has taught me is that I don't have to feel helpless, and I don't have to feel powerless, that I can reach out to my neighbors and the people that I live with, and we can work together. And that power is right there, and each and every one of us have it, right?
Yes,
And
we
so,
do.
like Adorian, Adorian and I met at the 3rd Street Hood Chat, and we've created a relationship that we've both been able to name. We want to make this community a better place, right? And it's glorious, right, to see that happen.
How are you doing that?
Well,
So that others can learn from
so that
this.
others can learn. It kind of comes to me, but certainly I think telling our stories to one another and creating relationship in that context to help us like bridge these differences that clearly we have both economically and socially and racially, right? We have a lot of racial injustice.
Yes.
Like
And
we have to,
environmental.
to build bridges, we have to feel kinship with one
Yes.
another, right? And so I think that is the primary way to make change, right? Because the more people wake up and say, I don't have to wait for somebody else to do this. I can
Right.
just go
You can
ask
do
somebody
it.
if they want to do it with me, and it'll be
Right.
done.
Right. You're absolutely right. And again, how exactly do you begin to do that? Do you knock on doors? Do you
Well, I started-
enhance the Third Street chat?
I started by trying to do more groups in the area. So I'm doing the Nurturing Parenting group that's at the United Church on Mondays. And then there's also the All Recovery meetings there as well. And I mean, All Recovery is really open. So like I don't have addiction problems, but I do have to deal with my trauma
Right.
and anxiety and depression that I need to get through. It's a battle I fight every day. So it's very similar. So mental illness is actually why the addiction epidemic is happening. So a lot of it's
And trauma,
connected.
right?
Exactly,
that
trauma in this
big-
area.
Right.
And now a lot of things, because also, it used to be all these things used to be swept under the rug.
Of course they were.
And now we have all these movements that allow people to, if they choose, a lot of people would rather numb and forget, which leads to
Understandable.
addiction.
But it's not useful.
Yeah, no, it is not. And then, so it's really good to have these groups to be able to have all this opportunity for growth and healing. But I think, like, a lot of it is division is the problem in trying to unite a community is that we get lost in the division. Oh, well, I can't relate to this person. This person's an addict. I can't relate to this person because this person's had DCF involvement. I can't relate to this person because whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it's crap.
I agree with you. Right on.
It's just crap. Because we've all been through stuff. We all have skeletons, and either we want to deal with them or we don't.
Right.
And it's more helpful if we deal with them as a community because it gets rid of that taboo.
Absolutely.
And then it's like, yeah, we've been through crap, but guess what? We're going to stand together. We're going to get through it. And society thrives. Not really society. I guess the people benefiting from the societal the convention, what it's kind of turned
communities
into.
were deliberately blown apart.
Right. They thrive on that. They make more money that way. As long as we're fighting each other, we're not standing united to solve the problem.
Well, I agree. And if we can't feel kinship with one another, how are we going to join together to save one another from extinction? Because that is a real and present threat.
I agree.
That we have very little time to mobilize against.
Sort of like, how do we have a real person's union?
Yes.
I mean, we're not asking for wages that's normally attached to a union. But
we need livable wages. We need to be able to afford housing. We need to be able to
we
afford
come together,
food.
that isn't going to happen.
Right, because everybody's like, oh, well, I did all this, I got my doctorates. I deserve to be making more money than this person who didn't go to college. It's like, maybe, but that person who didn't go to college needs to still be able to eat. They
And-
need to still be able to not be homeless.
And most people with their doctorates now are not earning the money.
Right.
They're starting to
once
get
was.
it.
Is a select few that
Yes.
have all the wealth and they hoard it, and we're pretty much in like a modern day slavery
It's like
where
it's
you're
like it's a
working your life
societal
away and
it's
not
a societal
getting anything.
Right.
It's like a mental illness that our whole society has, and I feel like it's our economic system.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
But I have like 1,000 million infinity% faith that we all have the capacity to invent something different,
We
better.
do.
And I know that I am like committed to making that happen
And
for my children, my grandchildren, and their grandchildren,
and your
myself.
children and your grandchildren.
Yeah.
And we can only do it one household at a time, one street at a time, one community at a time.
But what
And-
if we're all doing it
Well,
at the same
exactly.
time?
Exactly.
And not dividing like people, you know, with low income that with people who are wealthy, because if we have that division, then we're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. And
It's more of building that connection.
right.
You know, people that are okay with hoarding the wealth, they just lost their connection with the rest of the
Yeah.
the rest of the people.
And it's interesting, as people
In the
start
natural
to come
world.
together, more crap gets dropped down. Yesterday, there was the whole thing about making school meals not available for everybody. What yet another way to divide and conquer.
And yet people in prison, they get free meals.
Yeah, but have you
But,
seen
like-
the food there? It's horrendous.
Well, I mean that's
I mean,
a
it can
really
be
important thing to
comparative.
There
point
is
out.
But I
right?
mean,
In prison, we pay $50,000,
a year.
right?
per
That's
person.
a tuition, right? For
Yeah.
a child care, what do we pay for tuition?
Peanuts.
Right.
Peanuts,
We're
right? Like
essentially-
12,
sorry.
10, sorry, no, that's
Yeah.
okay, but it's infinitesimally smaller than what we pay to house corrections. And what if we just reverse that equation to the prevention side,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Of
That's
early
what-
childhood.
We're caging
Yes.
kids.
If you follow the money, we're encouraging people to go to jail
Yes,
versus
of
to
course
do
we
better.
are. Well, it keeps them locked up and out of people's hair, and
Right.
we're more divided.
Yes.
And we can
that's-
focus on other crap and not change what's happening.
Bread and circus.
Yes.
And what happens
exactly.
when you take away the bread?
Well, then it's time for the circus.
Indeed.
And we do need a circus. We do need ways of coming together.
Yes.
And what you guys are doing in your neighborhoods needs to be out there so that other people know. Some won't like it.
Mhm.
Oh, what a shame. But others can say, wow, they're making a difference. We can make a difference. I mean, I used to live in Philadelphia, and one of the way some of the neighborhoods that were really having problems with drugs changed it was when the women on the street, and it was the women, all got together. And they would march up and down the street. It makes a difference. It's visible. And they said they were saving their neighborhoods, rightly,
I
for their
like that.
children.
That's really, really amazing.
They did it with
That's
pots and
cool.
pans, too. Why not? We can do that.
That
It's
is-
got to be better than waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning to drunks yelling on your
Yeah.
street.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of really like the idea of going up and down Bayview with a drum. I have a drum.
Yes, a drum would be much preferred.
Yeah.
But I want to say that much of the response to posting videos
Yeah.
has been overwhelmingly positive.
Yes.
There were a few people who clearly are hurting inside, right? And I can see that underneath their
Yeah.
comments. But the majority of people are feeling like they want to help other people,
Yes.
right? And that is a groundswell of positive emotion
Yes.
that we inject into like our communication on the online public forum with one another when we meet
Mhm.
on the street, in Maple Fields when we're getting gas and getting a gallon of
Right.
milk.
Yeah.
So it carries over, and I've been so happy to feel that support come back into that page, right? That people are it feels like it's touching a nerve, right?
Yeah.
And it's creating a desire to come together in a capacity.
And
So I
to
like
use
that.
social media for positive change as opposed to just spreading more hate.
Indeed, indeed. Really, the power is in the message. And when
Yeah.
you control the message, right, you have a tremendous amount of influence.
You do.
Hmm.
So what's this page you've started?
It's called Every Street Diaries. You can feel free to like it on Facebook.
Cool.
It is a page, it is a platform for sharing stories in a respectful way.
Most pages you can't really post stuff. It has to be sort of
Yeah.
audited
People can
first.
submit
they
videos
Okay.
or photos.
Do you review it before it's posted?
Yeah, there is a
Okay.
review process.
Cool.
And so far I am the one administrator of this page, which
You're
so
going
far
to
is okay, right? But it's not exclusive, right?
Yeah.
It was just a week old, and so I think it has tremendous potential.
Yes, it does.
Actually, because it is we organize, right, by telling our stories, and I believe that the more people are sharing the real stories, I feel that we're getting a different story, right? We're getting a different narrative.
Yes.
And on the federal level, we are getting a lot of the bread and circus. Much of the circus is hateful,
Yes.
right? And so that's not productive. But
No.
what if we can make our own little happy circus in our happy little Chernobyl? See, I got it in there, Julie Raboyne, councilwoman. Sorry,
Chernobyl?
I had to get it in there.
Chernobyl? Oh, that did so much damage.
No, I, you know what? That was a quote from the Brave Little State article, and to me, what that represents and what that open space in downtown Newport represents is hope. It represents a new beginning to me.
Right.
Right, and that's what I see happened in Chernobyl, right? Nature reclaimed that city and brought it back to life in a real and meaningful way.
Yes.
And so that's what I mean when I say those three words. I really like how they go together too.
Yeah.
But yes, so everybody can do something. I guess if I were to say, like, everybody can do something, and what if 3,675 people all did one thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
we would be unstoppable. And that's really the message.
Right. And that's going to be a message that's scary to a lot of people, particularly those who would like us to be well behaved. And, you know, people who are well behaved don't make change.
No.
And it's hard getting the concept of being a gentle warrior as opposed to a battle axe. But what you're asking for is for people to be gentle warriors.
Well, we prefer warrior princess.
Well, that makes it about gender.
Well, that's
Yeah.
true.
We need
You're right,
warrior
you're right.
princes too.
You're right.
Except
We
the
do.
gentle
We
warrior.
do. I guess we'll stick with
Yeah.
gentle warrior. I just have a Xena
Not
thing.
to
That's
poo-poo
all.
on your idea, but
Yeah, I'm not into being a princess, frankly. But I like being a warrior.
Absolutely.
So where do people go next? They've been to your page, they post this story or a piece of a story, because it's always a piece of a story. What else can they do? The people who are going to watch this, what can they do in their neighborhood?
Well, I personally am continuing to be a part of the Third Street Hood Chat, but that leadership is shifting, right? So that leadership is shifting, I hope, to my friend Adorian, and a
Yay,
number of other
Adorian.
people who are
Good.
willing to step and organize and plan a monthly community gathering, whatever that looks
it will
like.
no longer be agency involved. It will be totally community.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And
That's
the
great.
group is thoughtfully thinking about a name change to be more
Yes.
inclusive of everybody who lives in this town. And so, like, that would be one first step. Go to a Third Street Hood Chat.
That would be
and
great.
have fun
it would be
with
very
somebody who lives in your community.
Yeah.
Like, the most basic advice is, like, if you're driving down the street, lift up your hand and just wave.
Yes.
Right? Wave at somebody. And often people are not accustomed to being acknowledged, and so they might even look twice at you and be like, oh my
Who's
goodness.
that weirdo waving at me?
Right?
Walk down the street, speak to everybody.
Right? Or here's another, like, time tested piece of advice. Go borrow a cup of sugar from your neighbor, right?
Right. Have a cookout. Invite your neighbor.
Compliment somebody.
Yes.
Right.
That does a lot.
Mhm.
So if you like their shoes or their earrings or top, just say, hey, I like your top. I do. Usually I like if I'm walking and I see somebody that, you know, looks like they're like in like not a good place, and I'll notice if I like their, you know, their hair or something. People are like, nice hair, and you know, first they'll give that like, who are
Weirdo.
you? Like, who are
Yeah.
you? And then they're like, oh yeah, okay, thanks. Like, and then they walk
Yeah.
away and their mood seems a lot
And their
better.
day is better.
Yes.
And
Another thing, I'm sorry, I wanted to get it in, is
okay.
one of the hopes of Every Street Diaries is also to seed ideas into the ether, right? So one day we talked about a free store, right? And I think that is
Yes.
cool.
It's
Can I start a
wonderful.
free store? I can't really right now, right? I'm a little overwhelmed. But anybody who watches that video and listen to that conversation can take their extra crap from their basement and put it on the porch and write free store, and it's done.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, my friend.
No, it's okay. I do
just-
it. I do it
I
too.
get like,
get
ooh.
excited and want to
Yeah,
just
I
like
do.
get it out.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I gotta say this.
I just came back from something that I jokingly refer to as a hippie fest. It's a festival I've been involved in for the last 29 years. And it's a community that comes together once a year. It sort of rises out of the mists, and 4,000 or 5,000, 6,000 people there. Everybody is really social, talks to everybody. There is a free stuff thing. People bring stuff, they put it there, and it just goes. And anything that's left over is
We should
taken
do
to a
that.
local goodwill. There's no reason not to do something like that. People eat communally, they make meals communally.
That would be awesome.
And then we all leave, though. And exactly what you're saying, what stops us continuing that? I mean, the festival is called Falcon Ridge. What is to stop this being Falcon Ridge in Newport?
Not one thing.
But come on, Loon Town in Newport. Let's have our own bird here.
We do. Actually, we have a nesting pair. I hear them
I
at night
love hearing them. Yeah, I do too.
Mhm.
I live out on the bluff, and I hear the loons too. It's wonderful.
And I hear them right on 3rd Street,
Yeah,
right? Because South Bay is right behind us. And so I hear the loons calling
Yeah.
at night, and it's very beautiful.
Loon Town. It's
Loontown.
not quite Looney Tunes, but
I
Loon
don't
Town.
get to hear it, but I hear everything else.
I bet-
Just nothing I want to hear.
I was going to say, I bet on Bayview you can hear loons because you're so close to the water.
I mean, we are. It's just it's a busy street.
Mhm.
Yes.
There's a lot of street noise,
It's
I
a busy
imagine.
street.
Yeah.
Not to put it meanly, but
There's a group that's coming together and is acquiring that big boat at the bottom of the Northern Star.
nice.
That's so close to you. That's something that community can be involved in
That would be cool.
because it will be a community boat.
Mhm.
It's going to be it will still be a tour boat, but it's also a non-profit.
It sounds like a
So-
wonderful community asset,
Yeah.
actually.
It does. I wanna
Exactly.
go on it.
And you guys are so close to that. And I
Yeah,
know there's a
I
little
love-
boy who comes down each day with his parents and puts his hand on the boat and refers to it as his boat. He says goodnight to the boat, which is so cool.
That is
adorable.
But the
lovely.
other kids could do that
That
too.
is lovely.
Yeah, it's a beautiful story.
Adorable.
There you are. There's another story for the.
That is a story. And so I would invite people to like film your own story, right?
Yes.
Like nothing, again, this is to empower everybody
Right.
to share a story.
We may not have your video skills.
Well,
You've had a lot of practice. I've seen you.
I'm just getting started. I got a new toy, hopefully that'll help me. It's all in the gadget, right? If you have a better gadget, I know I'm going to be
You've got
a
a
better
better gadget.
videographer.
You've got a new souped up,
A souped up
tricked out
gadget.
phone.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
New phones are always
And obviously, it doesn't take a tricked out phone, but you can
Right.
probably do an
Well, you
even
know.
better video.
You know, people talk about technology and what a bane it is to our existence,
Make
how
it
it
an asset.
disconnects us, right, and creates hateful stuff, but
Mhm.
energy. But really, again, that's another power that is completely within our grasp,
Yes.
right? we can infuse that electronic communication media, and this sounds really a little hokey, but with love, right? What if we, every single one of us, liked like every single post that rolled across our timeline for a whole day? Right? That's an exaggeration, but what if we set aside an hour a day and loved every single post that swung across, right?
Yes.
Or just
we could do it like an experiment.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. So were we issuing a challenge to people? Oh my goodness, this has turned into a very exciting interview.
Make that as a quote motion.
So I would like to make a community motion that people set aside 1 hour or whatever, 10 minutes. Let's start with something really doable.
Manageable.
10 minutes per day.
Yep.
And that every scroll that comes across, every post that comes across your news feed, we just love.
Yes.
Right? The odds are, I'm hoping the odds are slim that we're going to get hateful posts on our news feed, but.
I'll skim mine first.
Right? But just spend 10 minutes loving every single post that comes across your news feed, and let's see if
what
we
difference
can.
it makes.
Yes, exactly. Let's see what difference it makes.
I like that. And on that note, unfortunately, we are out of time. This goes so fast.
It does. But thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
You're obviously both going to have to come back because we have to look at what happened with the challenge and where the rest of this goes, because it's going to need reinforcement.
Yes.
How can we get all of Bayview involved with the boat? How can 3rd Street become involved with the boat, or anything else for that matter? How can we become a real community? And then it doesn't matter what's thrown at us.
Well, I think we're well on our way, quite honestly.
It's great. Sometimes it's hard to hold on to that.
It is, because, I feel that despair, the despair of living on the brink of extinction, right? So there's that, and then layer on top of that whatever anxiety, depression, personal life, professional life we got going on, and it's hard to continue to pump that love.
Okay, gentle warriors. On that note, thank you for coming in, and we'll do this again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So if you're looking for an answer, he's standing there by your side, and you'll never really know how far you'll go till you join together and try. So you tell me that your last good dollar is gone, and you say that your pockets are bare, and you tell me that your clothes are tattered and torn, and nobody seems to care. Now don't tell me your troubles, no, I don't have the time to spare.